huge plant in the city of San Bernardo do Campo. Pope Francis has praised U.S. bishops for their response to the clergy sex abuse crisis, but warned that such crimes must never be repeated. The Pope made the comments in an address to the bishops on his first visit to the United States. Barbara Fletcher is in Washington.
The Pope said he supported the commitment of U.S. bishops to bring healing to the victims of sexual abuse. The scandal that erupted in 2002 rocked the Catholic Church here, and despite efforts to deal with it, still persists. The visit of the popular Pope is seen as a chance to boost the image of the Church. Although many of his followers were disappointed, he decided not to meet victims. Earlier, the pontiff tackled a topic important to both him and President Obama, calling climate change a problem that can't be left to future generations.
Colombia's President Juan Manuel Santos is due to meet the top commander of the FARC rebel group known as Timoshenko in Cuba. The two men are expected to announce a deal on how to deliver justice for crimes committed during decades of conflict. BBC News. Two Al Jazeera TV journalists have been released from prison in Egypt shortly after they were pardoned by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. Mohammed Fahmy, who's a Canadian citizen, and Bahar Mohammed, who's Egyptian, were among 100 prisoners freed. The men were sentenced to 3 years in prison in a retrial last month for allegedly aiding terrorism. Mr. Fahmy's brother Adel said he was overjoyed at the release.
It's such a relief to have this long night that ends, and we've been deprived of our brother for a very long time. And I'm just so happy that this is all corrected and the truth has prevailed. He was always innocent. He did not deserve to spend the day in prison, and today fixes this unfortunate situation, and we're just so grateful and so relieved to have him back with us.
The state media said a third person from the case was also pardoned. It's not clear if this is the Australian Peter Gresta, who was deported earlier this year. There have been clashes between Palestinian youths and Israeli forces in the West Bank after the funeral of a woman shot at a checkpoint on Tuesday. The youth threw stones at the troops, who fired stun grenades and tear gas. The Israeli military said 18-year-old Hadil al-Hashlamoun was shot after she ignored an order to halt and tried to stab a soldier, but its account has been disputed by a witness. The interim president of Burkina Faso, Michel Cafondo, who was taken hostage in a military coup a week ago, has been officially reinstated. The ceremony, which marked the return to civilian rule, took place in the presence of several African heads of state. Russian investigators have exhumed the remains of the country's last Tsar and his wife as part of a new investigation into the murder of the Romanov family at the turn of the 20th century. The bones of Nicholas II and his wife Alexandra will be re-examined. Investigators say new checks are needed to verify the remains of 4 other Romanov family members. BBC News.
You're listening to the BBC World Service. I'm Julian Marshall with news coming up. How are indigenous Californians reacting to the Pope's canonization of the man who brought them Catholicism?
Being both a Catholic and an indigenous California right now is a heartbreaking situation. You know, you're torn. You don't know whether to be loyal to your ancestors, loyal to your religion, or for some people, actually fearful of retribution if they speak out.
That interview in full in about 40 minutes. But we begin with a deepening scandal surrounding the German auto manufacturer Volkswagen. You'll recall that VW has admitted it deceived US regulators in exhaust emissions tests by installing a device in its diesel cars to give more positive tests. And VW has since admitted that about 11 million vehicles worldwide are fitted with the so-called defeat device. The German prosecutors have begun criminal inquiries into the actions of VW employees, and other countries from Europe to South Korea have begun their own inquiries, while the company itself faces a massive fine in the United States. Well, VW has set aside 6.5 billion euros to cover the potential legal costs of the scandal, and today Chief Executive Officer Martin Winterkorn resigned, saying he was shocked by the events of the past few days, and he hoped with his resignation to give VW a fresh start. Bertold Huber, the deputy chairman of Volkswagen's supervisory board, made the formal announcement at a news conference at the company's headquarters.
dass die Vorgänge mit aller Entschiedenheit.
We are aware of the economic damage that we've suffered, but above that, the trust, the damage to trust among Volkswagen customers that has occurred. These problems will be rectified. We've decided to make a clean break with that and a fresh start. These will be introduced later. This fresh start will also include that Martin Winterkorn will step down from his position.
I'm joined now live by the BBC's Theo Leggett, who's in the home of Volkswagen, Wolfsburg in Germany. And Theo, can VW make a fresh start after this damage to the brand?
It can, but it's going to be a very difficult process. As you say, Volkswagen is facing enormous fines in the United States at the very least. Not just civil penalties, but criminal penalties as well. Those are likely to run into billions of dollars, and frankly, the amount of money that Volkswagen so far set aside may well not be enough to meet those demands, and it could face prior litigation as well. But there is also the fact that it has upset a lot of its customers. Its reputation has been tarnished as well, and that may be the key factor going forward, how long it takes to rebuild that reputation. It can be done. Toyota, the Japanese car maker, had a severely tarnished reputation a few years ago because of problems with its cars which were affecting safety. It concentrated on rebuilding its brand and it succeeded. Whether Volkswagen can do the same, we'll have to wait and see.
Now explain to me how central, if at all, Volkswagen is to the German economy and the possible repercussions there.
Well, it's part of a very successful manufacturing and export sector. Volkswagen was, until very recently, the world's biggest car maker by sales. We can expect some of those sales to have dropped off as a result of this scandal.